Welcome to this BCG mock interview video. Today I'm with Adrian, who used to be a manager in BCG's Dubai office. I'm going to give him a public sector case. So if you're interviewing for BCG, or if you're looking for a government or a public sector case, then you're in the right place. Adrian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Max, for the intro. Yeah, I'm Adrian Castillero. I used to be Associate Director in BCG in the Middle East on digital transformation space. And I'm available in IGotAnOffer to help you to prepare the interviews successfully. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Perfect. So we're going to give ourselves 30 minutes to work through this.
Yeah.
So let's get started. You ready?
I am ready.
Awesome. Okay, so your client is a state agency called the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And they've hired you because the unemployment rate in the state is very high, the highest in the country. It's at 13.4%. And net immigration is also really high. It's also the highest in the country. And every year, 86,000 people leave the state, presumably to find work somewhere else. So yeah, what would you do to help the state agency turn things around?
Yeah, so just to confirm the figures that you gave me, you said the unemployment rate is 13.4%, and the net immigration is 86,000 due to seeking for work outside. This is what you said?
Yeah, presumably that's the main hypothesis at this stage. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So let me recap. Let me recap the question in addition to confirming these figures. Thank you for that. Our client is the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. We have been hired by them to try to give a solution and approach to resolve the unemployment rates that they have, which is 13.4%, and to reduce or resolve the immigration issue that they have in as well. And for this, we're working with them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So allow me, please, to ask additional detailed questions, Max. In addition to this, do they have any other specific goals? I mean,
yeah.
Clearly,
So
apologies. Yeah.
yeah, no. So they do have goals. So they actually have two goals. A primary goal, which is to increase employment or decrease unemployment. That's kind of like the main thing they're interested in. And they have a secondary goal as well, which is to increase capex investments by companies in the state.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Increase capex by companies, by external companies, I guess, right?
Yeah. So when companies invest in the state, that's kind of called capex investment.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
The first thing is that Adrian played back the information I gave him, including the numbers, to make sure that he had understood everything correctly. This is something you should always do at the beginning of a case to make sure that you're on the same page as the interviewer. The second thing is that Adrian did a good job prompting me for a specific measurable goal. At the beginning of an interview, it's a good habit to try to define a measurable target you're trying to hit. Not all cases have measurable goals, but the vast majority of them do.
That makes sense to me. Okay, can you give me a few seconds to think about the framework?
Sure, take your time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I am fine with this. Okay, now let me explain you the framework. Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm a small typo. I didn't miss anything. I have split the framework in 4 dimensions. Okay. The first one will be actions related to targeting citizens, meaning reduce the immigration. Okay. The second dimension will be target companies that are willing to invest and hence reduce the unemployment. The third dimension will be go through, define the government programs required to fulfill all the initiatives, all the targets. Define this, and then the fourth dimension will be around risks and next steps. Now, if I go back to the first dimension, we're talking about all these elements that are first. Also, I divided this in 4 stages. One is benchmark across what other cities, states, even abroad, are doing in relation to make the life of the citizens better, evaluate potential opportunities that are better fitted for Michigan, and then define policies and financial incentives. All these ideas relates to, increasing the welfare, giving support to the citizens, etc., etc. So we need to learn from them. So those are the key elements. When it comes to targeting companies, what we're seeking is companies to improve, invest, and come to invest. So we need to learn, understand first of all, benchmark what other states and cities are doing in this regard. So basically the same approach. Second is understand what are the opportunities that are better suited for us as Michigan in this regard. So which ones are the best? And then define policies, changes, and financial incentives, which relates to investment opportunities, acceleration of the regulation, etc., etc. Then I don't have special details on the government programs because those will come as part of the analysis, as well as the risks and next steps to be considered that will come as part of our analysis evaluation as well. I hope it makes sense to you.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Is there any reason you broke out government programs? I guess you could have put it under target citizens and target companies.
Yeah, I felt that I didn't want to repeat everything, but it could be part of the roadmap. But because as of now, well, yeah, you're totally right. It could be broken up in the two other domains, but I wanted to put it differently, all in one bucket, to define a kind of a roadmap overall. So combining the whole thing.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main reason. Yeah.
Okay, so once you've kind of looked at the two, let's say what you've called the two targets, then have an overall roadmap, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And similarly with risks and next steps. So I'm doing exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Fine.
All right.
One difficulty in this case is that the state has a primary and secondary target. Adrian took that into consideration and covered both targets in his framework, which is something candidates often forget to do in this case. Secondly, most existing frameworks are business frameworks that don't really work for public sector cases. You can see here that Adrian came up with a framework that's really tailored to the public sector, which was great. And finally, I challenged Adrian by asking him why government programs was not under points 1 and 2 in his framework. And I think he gave me a convincing answer that showed that he had really thought things through.
Okay, so I mean, now that we're here, and if you're fine, and then we can continue on the analysis. I'm while preparing the framework, I was thinking in the background that the main objective or the main reason why or root cause for the migration to happen is related to work and meaning unemployment. So hence, I'm tempted to say that maybe this is something that maybe we don't want to have a look now because of the target is to reduce unemployment, not to increase the population per se. So I'm thinking that maybe we should be just considering this part of in a second stage or discussions with the corporation. What do you think about that?
So you're talking about the target citizens points, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're saying to focus more on targeting companies first.
Yeah, because I mean we can still go through the whole study, but I feel like it will not be worth, and it's not the primary goal of the entity, which is reduce unemployment, right? So that's what I'm suggesting. Okay, perfect. So if you allow me, then let me go for so we're going to be rolling out this. I will not highlight anything here. I'm going to be going for the next part of the framework. So, okay, in this regard, if I start discussing about reducing employment and increasing CapEx, do they have any specific goal around that? Any specific target?
Yes, they do actually. So they are trying to reduce or to add 1,000 jobs rather in the next year.
Okay.
And they also want to attract capex investment of 40 million in the next year as well.
Okay, so they want to increase reduce unemployment and increase 1,000 jobs eventually. and they want to attract 40 million in capex. That makes sense to me. That's great. Okay, so let me go one by one now on the analysis, on the framework as I define that. So do we have any information around benchmarking around other cities? Do we know if the economic development entity has done any work around what other cities are doing? Any benchmark did they look around to other states or countries worldwide or not?
No, so that's not really something they've done. So they just have that target of adding 1,000 jobs and increasing capex by $40 million. The other point which I forgot to mention is that to achieve these goals, they have a $10 million fund.
Okay, thank you for that.
And so so that's all they have. That's all the work they've done. They haven't done any benchmarking for now.
Okay, I will be coming to this question, how they, in the next question I will be asking for that most probably, I will have realized, but thank you for telling me in advance. Okay, so maybe around the benchmarking, this is something that we could do in a second phase of the project, work with them on evaluating options. That will be a good opportunity to improve the deliverables. On the opportunities, I guess, again, I don't know whether the entity has worked already on evaluating companies that might be interested on investing on Michigan and are better suited for Michigan. Do you have any information around that, Max?
Yeah, actually, so they have like a few companies that they're having conversations with. And so I'm going to share some information with you about these companies now. So let me paste it here. Can you see this?
Okay, let me see. 1 second. Okay, so they have, okay.
Right, so the first point is that after we discussed the framework, Adrian started exploring it by himself. I didn't prompt him to do anything. He proactively mentioned that focusing on part 1 of the framework probably wasn't going to be a focus and asked for me to confirm that. In candidate-led cases, you should always try to drive the case as much as you can. Secondly, once he decided to focus on part 2 of the framework, Adrian first explored points 2.1, and once I told him that we didn't have any data about benchmarks, he then moved on to 2.2. So he was very structured. He used a step-by-step approach, which was very easy for me to follow.
So they have 4 companies. Four different industries.
Yeah.
As I can see, software, retail, chain, manufacturing. Let me open that because I cannot read the whole thing. Manufacturing, call center. Okay, 4 companies, 4 industries, and they are creating different direct jobs, quite different each case. Okay, they're giving the capex investment for which I can tell you right away that just by looking at this, if you allow me to do that, I can say that there are 2 projects that are giving me why is not coming the color? I cannot find the color. Fine, it's not working in my screen. Okay, no, but I will not do anything. So these 2 are the only 2 that are really complying with the target of the capex. Okay, fine. Okay, and then I see that they created this number of jobs. Okay, that's great, and they have a multiplier. Can you, for indirect jobs and for induced jobs, can you elaborate a little bit more on what does this number and concept means, please?
Yeah, sure. So indirect jobs are basically so if you think about a manufacturer, for instance, who manufactures planes, they don't manufacture everything themselves. They buy parts from suppliers. Okay. So when a company goes to Michigan and builds a factory, it creates direct jobs in that factory, but it also creates indirect jobs at suppliers, companies essentially.
Okay.
And induced jobs is kind of like a similar concept, but it's a little bit like further removed from the main company's activity. So you can think about it like hotels and restaurants that employees of the company go to.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. It makes sense. Now, the question that I have is this 4.2, for instance, it means that you will have 100 direct jobs plus 420 indirect jobs and 260 induced jobs. Is that correct understanding?
No. So the multiplier accounts for direct jobs already. So yeah, in your example, there would be like 400 and 20 jobs in total, direct and indirect.
Okay, perfect. And the same applies for induced jobs, I guess, right? The same logic.
Yes.
Okay, so let me please crack some numbers here, because I think it's relevant to understand where are we standing in this opportunity. So I will put net. Let me do the calculations and then I will go further. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so this will be 100. This will be 320. This will be 120. 50. Net induced, it will be 160. This will be 60. This will be 70, and this will be 25. So if I add the total, then it will be 580, then 480, then 70, it will be 560, and then 500, it will be 75. Okay. Okay, so thank you for giving me the time to put this into the Excel. So in this case, we have, this is the number of induced jobs. This is based on these numbers. This is the number of, indirect jobs created, induced jobs created, and this is the total. So what we can see is that while we have two projects that they are providing the capex target, as being this GamerZone and Prefab, both in software and manufacturing, none of the projects are giving really the 1,000 total target of employment, of jobs employment. So that's something that we should be considering. And while these two projects as well, GamerZone and Prefab, are the ones that are on top of the total creation for GamerZone and the second job creation for Prefab.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, though they're not reaching the total, I like these two projects, GamerZone and Prefab, as candidates based on these financial metrics or
Okay.
these figures metrics. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think different companies have different multipliers?
I mean, well, I think that depending on the industry, you have more dependencies outside your company itself. So if I take it to the extreme, a speedy lane, a call center, does not require any additional infrastructure around them. It's just you put an office, you have internet, and a consultant can work right away. So there is not many additional indirect jobs created. Whereas on the contrary, the manufacturing creates a lot because it requires a lot of, most probably you try to localize the providers, and hence you need additional resources, and this means additional employments around you. And similarly, the induced jobs, depending on the type of organization as well. While I see that, for instance, Prefab, which is manufacturing, doesn't have a great induced job multiplier. For the same reason, the smaller one is the call center, because you don't really need a lot of support on hotels, visits, etc., depending on the industry. Whereas the one that is giving the most, which is GamerZone, it's an industry where I guess that there is a lot of, for instance, if you go to the example you gave me, hotels, there might be a lot of visits, meetings, etc. So that, depending on the industry, you require different additional requirements, and this is what the multiplier might be defining, right?
Okay.
So the first thing is Adrian asked me to give him more details about what exactly direct and indirect jobs are, as well as their corresponding multipliers. This was great. You should ask clarifying questions if there's something you don't understand about the data that's shared with you. And secondly, I feel like Adrian gave a really good answer when I asked him why multipliers change by industry. He took the time to look at each multiplier and to give examples of why they're high or low in different industry, which was great.
So where would you? I think you mentioned like Prefab and GamerZone being the two most interesting like companies. So where would you take things from there?
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the things that I should be looking at, in addition to this number, is I would like to have a look to strengths and weaknesses for both of the companies, agreeing that those are the two that are the most relevant. I will try to analyze pros and cons, weaknesses, or strengths for both of them, if it makes sense to
Okay.
you, Max.
Yeah, well,
Shall I?
I think that's a good next
Yeah,
step. Yeah.
I have some ideas, Max. On let me please write them down, and then if you want, we can discuss them. Make sense?
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Let me do that. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, I think those are the key elements. Let me go one by one. So I have divided for both of the companies weaknesses and strengths. So if I go for the weaknesses, I would say that Gamerson is giving smaller capex, so which was obvious, so we said that already. As a weakness for this industry is that you might have a kind of limitation with the qualified employees, people to be hired. So there is a chance that you don't have enough resources available in the state to feed in this company. Is low anchoring, and what I mean with this is because they have a limited investment. It is as well as it's easy for them to join and to come in. It still is easy for them to leave Michigan in case they want to leave, right? So it works in both directions. From prefab perspective, is uncertain relocation, and what I'm trying to say here is that they might get another offer from other place. So it's not clear that we will be able to convince them to make this investment. We have to have our value proposition prepared as Michigan. Then the industry, sorry for the typo here, apologies. Industry in this industry is giving lower margins, high competition, high investment. So there is an uncertain future always. So this kind of industries, you're not 100% sure that you're going to be succeeding. So hence, this is a risk of the whole plan to fall apart, right?
Okay.
From a strength to Gamerson, I would say that it's a high value profile company. It's internet, it's gaming, so it's new technology. So this always sounds good for me. When it comes to prefab strengths, I will have to say that they have higher capex, as we discussed before. In case they moved, they have a much higher anchor. So once they have come, it's not easy for them to leave for obvious reasons. From the feeding of the resources perspective, because Michigan is already a manufacturing state, they have car manufacturers, etc., etc. It might be easy for us to find profiles, and the job multiplier factor is much higher as well. So that makes sense as well for me. So those are this is the analysis. Do you think I'm missing anything relevant?
No, I think that will make sense to me. So
for qualitative brainstorming questions, a common mistakes candidates make is to start talking straight away and not take the time to structure their thoughts. Almost everyone asks for time to structure their thoughts for framework questions, but a lot of people forget to do that for brainstorming questions that happen later on in the case. Here, Adrian asked for time, and as a result, he was able to create a strong, structured, comprehensive answer.
Let's imagine your client gives you a call and asks for your recommendation. What would you tell them?
Okay. Okay. So to be honest, well, I would like to say something before we go, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I would have liked to, but I don't know if we have this information. I would have liked to understand from this company's perspective, what was the past growth, what is the potential growth in the future, as well as any motivation for them to come. That might be helping to do the analysis. Apologies for this interjection. But the client is asking me for a recommendation. I have to say, Max, that I don't think we are in conditions to give a recommendation to the client because we're not covering we're not able to give a positive recommendation per se with one of the options because we're not fulfilling the targets, especially on the jobs creation. So if the customer is coming to me, I will give a recommendation which will look like the following. So once is I will ask the client whether they are able to change the targets. Should they consider reducing the target to, for instance, 500 employees only, and then with the investment fund that we have, we can proceed. Alternative two is should they evaluate increasing the funds that we have, the 10 million in funds that we have, So we can go for multiple options, multiple companies, which in my perspective, it can be a good option. So you can, you can split your efforts, diversify the risks, and get two different dimensions, two different perspectives to the problem. And the third option will be to re-question the whole thing and go back and maybe look for other companies. So in a nutshell, go back to the drawing board, challenge the customer. That will be my recommendation to them.
The first point is that a mistake candidates often make in this specific case is to recommend one of the two companies, although none of them enables the client to make their objective of reducing unemployment by 1,000 jobs. So this was probably the hardest part of the case, I think, and Adrian didn't make that mistake. He didn't recommend one of the two companies. The second point is that instead Adrian showed great instinct. Adrian's recommendation was essentially to go back to the drawing board and to look at changing the target or getting more money to achieve the target or to continue looking at other ways to achieve the target. I feel like this wasn't an easy recommendation, but that's probably what you would tell a client in real life. So I felt like Adrian came to the right conclusion here.
Well done. So how did that
thank you very much for
all feel?
It was interesting because it's a kind of hybrid case between traditional policy making regulation perspective to numeric kind of approach evaluating companies' investments. So yeah, I was feeling challenged in a way.
Was that similar to some of the projects that you've seen in the public sector?
Yeah, I mean the kind of projects that we do could be traditional strategy projects where you're thinking on policy making and regulation definition, etc., where you have your customer asking for a specific problem that could be this one, for instance, and then you need to define strategies to fulfill that. And you will be doing the full benchmarking, the full scouting, evaluating investment opportunities, and then taking a decision based on analysis framework. We have done a very vague analysis here. It was very high level, but typically you will go much deeper on the whole analysis. So yeah. This is one of the type of the projects. And the other one that I have been exposed as well a lot is more on the digital side. So public sector entities that are seeking for digital strategy and digital services strategies, how they should be going around on these kind of digital implementations, right? So those kind of two projects are highly consistently happening in the Middle East. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, it was great to have you on, and yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. It's been a pleasure working with you, Max.
Thanks, Adrian. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hello, I really hope you found that useful. If you did, you can like and subscribe. And why not come on IGotAnOffer.com to see more videos like this, study case interview frameworks, and read company guides. There you can also practice for your upcoming case interviews with coaches from McKinsey, BCG, Bain, and other consulting firms. Thank you, and good luck with your upcoming interviews.